Hello, so by the time you watch this video, my traditional Yuletide video will have already been released, and for the third year now that will be a land artwork, a Magic the Gathering land artwork based video called Land Ahoy. But the other thing I thought would be interesting to do, because this was something I did on and off around this time of year in previous years prior to me doing the Land Ahoy series, and that was to do something related to gifts. And I'd done things in the past, like I'd put together I think it was a Pack Wars kit. Another year I was talking about, budget purchases, again in the area of Magic the Gathering, which revolved around, I believe, things like repacks and those sort of things. So I thought it would be an interesting thing to really run with the whole idea of budget gifting, to the point at which these ideas will cost you nothing but your time in terms of watching this video, and in terms of actually doing them, if you choose to do them. Another, I suppose, stimulus for this, or where this started, and you can see the sort of starting point for this on screen here. So I was thinking a lot this Christmas, and also chatting to my wife about this, how often at Christmas time, when I was living in the UK, they would often put on a series on the TV, repeat it over the December period. And often those series, a lot of the time, would become almost like backgrounds to Christmas. You might just put them on and while you were sort of poodling around over Christmas. And I've been in situations where firms I worked for, or when I worked for myself, I might take off the Christmas period. Some years I have, some years not so much. And so often, during that week, there might be a day where there wasn't anything particular to do, and it was just nice to have something on in the background. That's one possible reason why you might put together a playlist like this. But also what you can do is it's quite nice, and it's been done to me several years ago in the early days of YouTube, is to put together a nice playlist that you can send to somebody else. And as I said at the start of this video, this is going to cost you nothing but your time. And I put this list actually together before I thought about doing this video. So this is my Yuletide playlist. And it starts off with one of my favourite videos, which is 9 years old now, and this is the box of corgi puppies video. I don't know how familiar people are with this. It's 1.4 million views. And then I decided to pick a mixed bag of videos. It's the sort of videos that I like to often have on just in the background, and I've watched again and again over the years, both in terms of just ambient watching and sat down and watched them several times probably now. But also mixed in amongst that, it is stuff that I stumbled across on channels that I've revisited again after probably a long period of time of not particularly watching them. That wasn't for any reason apart from there's only so many videos you can watch in your free time. And so I just quickly scroll down these. So I've got one from the Dice Tower, top 10 essential games everyone should know. So that's from 2016, yeah. one of my favourite rig rundowns with the tech for the black keys. 10 years old, this one. One of my favourite series on YouTube, which was Gab Smolder's Elden Ring, which is 9 months ago. I watched this all the way through when it first came out, and I've been revisiting this recently, and I find it so relaxing to watch. I must admit, in all the times I've now watched it in the last few weeks, which is about now on 3 occasions, starting off with episode 1, I invariably fall asleep, have a bit of a nap. So I've just included the first one, and then really it's just up to you if you then choose to try and track down the whole playlist. It is available as a playlist. This one, which is a couple of years old now, which is RJ Ronquillo's top 5 pedal pairs, the infamous, well, I suppose it's not that very well known outside of people that watched DayZ streaming back in the day, and that's the Saga of the Spaniard. I've put up part 2. There's about, 4 or 5 parts to this, and again you should be able to find the playlist fairly easily. The first of a couple of food videos. You'll notice that one thing about these videos is they're not necessarily Yuletide themed. They're not either, Christmas dinners or anything that was produced particularly around December time, like, the camping ones, for instance, or like camping in the snow or camping in winter or those sort of things. But I just wanted to include stuff that fitted that sort of ambient watching that you often get over Christmas, but it would also be pleasant videos to watch. There's a couple here that I find amusing to watch in amongst these quite loud videos, which I'll come on to in a moment, just to provide an interesting interlude to things. You can probably see them already, actually. So, in terms of the food ones, we've got Biggest Bushcraft Breakfast Cooked on a Rock in the Rain. Another old Magic the Gathering video. This is the MTG Radio YouTube channel. These would have also been streamed on Twitch. So this is 10 years old. This is a Mimir Plasm EDH game. Then a couple of things which Adam Buxton was involved with. This really clever animation he did. And also an episode, last year's Christmas episode. I do enjoy listening to their Christmas episodes, where he invites back on. So his original partner that he used to make the TV series with in the UK, Adam and Joe. I'm trying to remember what the full title of that was, actually. So it's Adam Buxton and Joe Cornish. So he gets Joe Cornish on as a guest, and now Joe Cornish is a pretty well-known movie director. A couple of things to break things up a bit. We've got an old Nathrak falling towards sunset from Rockslide 2013, so you can always skip over these if you find them a bit loud. One thing I didn't mention is I'm obviously going to include links to all of these things in the description along with this. This is my Yuletide playlist gift to my viewers. Campfire Christmas Dinner in the Woods, Simon the Bloke in the Woods. He's done quite a few over the years. Arch Enemy, We Will Rise, Fields of Desolation. I have this actually on video. Of course, some of these may well disappear in time, although this has been up for 12 years now. So if it was going to get taken down, it would have probably been done by now. A couple of really good Johnny Marr videos. One from the British Masters series on Noisy, and a Fender one he did. Another Gab Smolders one, playing the game Stray. A Show Us the Junk episode, Earthquaker Devices. I included the most popular one for the Show Us Your Junk series, but there's some other cool ones if you don't particularly know much about Sonic Youth or don't like them. Then there's plenty of other ones that you can watch. I included a Loading Ready Run, a more recent one. I used to watch them way back in the day before I was even aware that they had started doing Magic the Gathering videos. So there's a recent one, an EDH one, which is pretty interesting. And it was the Christmas themed one, so I thought that would be cool to include. Another one about classic guitar pedal combinations from that pedal show, and a really cool 3-night camping video from Claire on the Wild Bear channel, Claire Bear, which is really cool. There's plenty of other ones there that are really good, and I suspect there's also some more Christmas themed ones as well, but that's one of the most popular ones, one of the solo backpacking ones, and no doubt I'll probably add to this between now and when I upload this video. So that's the first suggestion, is put together a Yuletide or a gift playlist if this is another time of the year, and send it out to someone via email, sort of things that they might enjoy. Obviously, and this is dependent on whether you have Spotify or some other music streaming service. So there's a bit of a caveat to this. If you attempt this on Spotify and send it to someone that doesn't have a Spotify account, then they'll simply be able to play clips, which might be enough. This is one I didn't do for Christmas. This is one I did for a friend of mine who I've known since I was at school, secondary school. Used to live really close to where I did on Ashdown Forest. This one's called For the Captain. That's one of his nicknames. And what I did was I put together a playlist of all the songs that remind us both of when we used to hang out. Either remind us of certain periods in the 70s or later in the 80s when we were cruising around a lot, going to various nightclubs, going various places, driving up to London, and things like that. So yeah, a real mixture. Also, quite a few of these is often when my friend had come back from being away, because he spent a lot of time over in France and places like that around Europe and another place in the world actually, and he'd often come back with a particular music tape and say, if you listen to this. And so I remember one year, at that point I hadn't heard much Joe Satriani, so I always remember this one, Surfing with the Alien, and there was another one on here actually. I don't know if I remember to include, what's it? There's one here that I know I was already listening to, and this album, he came back with this one year. I actually was already familiar with this, and we used to play Attack of the Mad Axeman really loud. There's quite a few albums here. This reminds us of when we went to see, well, actually 3 here. We went to see The Cult live, Big Country, and Susie and the Banshees. This just reminds us of that period around Live Aid as well. And there's a lot of stuff here from the 80s that sort of both takes us back to that period. Other things like songs that would often crop up on pub jukeboxes where we used to go. So when we used to hang out at the Shelley Arms in Nutley, this used to come on a lot, I Am the Resurrection. And often we'd be around friends' houses and they'd be playing stuff like this, Wheels of Steel. You probably saw early on there was the Motorhead We Are the Road Crew as well. So you can see here it's pretty eclectic tastes on display here. I did this several years ago and posted a link to his Twitter account actually, so he could enjoy it because he has Spotify. So yeah, so I thought I'd include it in this episode, and I'll also include the link to this as well. So yeah, create a Spotify list for somebody, send it to them, or an Apple Music list, or you can do the same thing in YouTube actually, as long as you pick. I would obviously pick accounts where you know they're not going to be taken down. A lot of record companies and bands are now, publishing their music videos on their websites now, so stuff like that stays up a lot longer. So you can also do it that way, but just obviously make sure the person you'll send it to has access to the app or the website, and they don't have to actually subscribe to it, because that rather defeats the object. Another thing you can do, which is something I just thought up on the spot, and that's in Windows. There's a number of ways you can do this, but you can create quite a nice movie comprised of meaningful thumbnails. I've done this for family members in the past for like holidays and things like that. There's a couple of ways you can do this. One way is to simply just create a movie that they can play back on their machine. Another way is to create a folder on a thumbnail drive that you can plug into the side of, say, a smart TV and actually play back on the smart TV. We've done that before. And so, yeah, the way you can do it, and I'll bring up a couple of apps here. I'm using Windows 11 here, so it can be done in Clipchamp. And so here I've taken some favourite artwork here and just imported it in, add some transitions, and yeah, I could refine this a bit more, maybe add a bit of royalty-free music, and then export it and send it out, and just include artwork. That could be any form of artwork. Could be Magic the Gathering artwork if it's someone who likes Magic the Gathering, maybe their favourite artwork or a favourite cycle or stuff like that. And you can also do that in legacy, what they call legacy photo now. So the photo apps or the movie apps that, depending on what version of Windows you have, or if you're using another operation, there's always some sort of app on there that allows you to create to create thumbnail movies fairly easily. Or like I said, the alternative thing is to create a little USB stick with a folder structure on it that will play back automatically on smart TVs. Something else that I certainly would appreciate someone doing is getting creative in Scryfall. So this is for the Magic the Gathering inclined of you, and one I thought today is a nice little link to a Scryfall search query, and you can make that as clever as you like. And here's a nice one, seeing as it's this time of year, which is snow-covered lands. And certainly if I received that email, that would certainly bring a smile to my face. And so I'll include a link in the description for those of you that would bring a smile to your face. Now, something else that I know a lot of people do, if you're particularly artistic, is obviously to create some artwork for somebody. But what if you're not? And there are ways of letting AI help you with that. So this is a tool that I've used for creating those little bit of artworks for my ambient projects. And I thought I'd just point them out to you. So let's just go in, and this is one I created this morning. I just called it Snow in the Summertime. Obviously with these free ones, they only come with a certain amount of free credits on them. And you can see I've already used a few of these, and you probably recognise these from the names that they were used for the thumbnail for certain ambient compositions I did recently. So here's the snow in the summertime. So I can view the creation, and then I can share it, I can download it, send it off. One thing with these is they don't necessarily, you can see here, you can actually upscale. I don't have many credits here, but obviously when you go in on a new account, so you can upscale, so you can make them so they will scale up to a decent size, because if I was to download this and stretch it, it'll get quite pixelated, which in some ways has its own charm, but just something to watch out for. You can also evolve these as well. And then finally, for those of you looking for something occult related, because I've done a few tarot videos and a few other things over the years, and I know people enjoy. So something I stumbled across the other day is these online sigil creators. So obviously there's several ways you can use these. One is to just use it. Again, if there are ways of creating these yourself. Obviously these use a particular method for creating sigils. Obviously you have to decide how you're going to personalize this. Are you going to do it in a way in which you incorporate the personalization in the statement of intent, or if the person you're gifting it to knows how to charge the sigil or to activate it, whatever term you want to use. You could create it, email it to them, and then they would know how to charge it themselves, basically. But either way, you can produce this, download it, email it to them. I'm going to include links to a couple of sites that let you do these, create these sigils. Obviously, they're in a certain style that these are created that are easier to do over the web. And so let's start off. So for this one, I used it is my will to have a flourishing 2023. That's a nice sort of generic one. Obviously, sometimes you want to be a bit more specific. So let's just see what this looks like. There's a website called Sigil Engine, and it's quite interesting and quite sparkly. It's got cool animation. So let's give this a go. So let's click on here. So you make sure you get the spelling right. There we go. So we're going to create the sigil. Obviously you'll see now what it starts to do. It takes out the duplicates, rearranges things, removes some of these, remove things like remove the vowels. And that's the sigil it's created for me. And then I can export that. And then I can save it in either form. And then I can send that off. So there we go. So hopefully there's some ideas there for creating gifts that only require your time. So, create a YouTube playlist, create a music playlist on some sort of music service, create some sort of thumbnail video that contains the sort of images that the person you're sending it to might like. Create some sort of online curated list. In this example, I use Scryfall to create a list of snow lands artwork. Create some artwork using AI to help you, or do some sort of sigil maybe as well. So there's some ideas. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in the next video.